In this video, we're going to talk about what is a smart contract and what are the benefits of smart contracts. My name is Cliff Pierre. I am the founder of Revenue Boomers Digital Marketing Agency. I also am the author of What is Bitcoin? Understanding Bitcoin and Blockchain Technology. So I put a link for my book in the description. But again, in this video, I'm going to just break down smart contracts, exactly how they work, and like what is the benefit of a smart contract. So traditionally speaking, when it comes to crypto, when it comes to Ethereum has a utility within its blockchain that allows people to create smart contracts. So a smart contract essentially is a self-executing contract with the terms of the agreement between buyer and seller being directly written into lines of code. The code and the agreements contained therein exist across a distributed, decentralized blockchain network, and the code controls the execution and transactions that are trackable and irreversible. That was a mouthful, right? I'm going to break that down. So basically, a smart contract is an agreement between two people. So if I created this NFT painting, and let's just say this NFT painting is originally sold for $1,000. Me as the creator, I'm going to make that $1,000 on that initial sale. But let's just say if that painting that NFT that I sell to one person, they go sell it to another person for $1,500. So when it comes to smart contracts and when it comes to NFTs in specific, or in particular, I should say, the creator will write a smart contract that basically says, if this person sells this NFT that I sold to them from $1,000 to another person for any price, I will make 5% of the total sales value. So again, if the person that I sell my $1,000 artwork to resells my $1,000 NFT artwork, I'm going to get a commission on the total value of the sale. So for example, if they sell the artwork that I sold to them for $1,000 for $1,500, I'll make 5% of that $1,500, and the smart contract will automatically execute that transaction on my behalf. So I don't need to physically call the person that sold the artwork and say, hey, where's my 5% commission? I don't need to monitor if the person sold the artwork and say, hey, you didn't pay me my commission. I don't need to track any of it. Only thing I need to do is write the code in the smart contract that executes sort of like a if this, then that. So if this happens, do this. If this person sells this art for $1,500, give the original creator 5% of the total value of the sale. If that person that sold it for $1,500 resells it for $3,000, give the original artist 5% of that $3,000 sale, so on and so on. If they go to sell it for $1 million, the original creator will make 5% of the initial sale. That is the power of a smart contract. So it basically removes the intermediary parties from negotiating an issue after the fact. So imagine, like for example, if I invest $100,000 into a company and the company is supposed to pay me a specific amount of money on a specific date, you have to rely on people. But imagine if you wrote a contract that is on the blockchain, on a code that's trackable and irreversible, like they say, and then every single time the dividend needs to be paid out to you or anything needs to be paid out, the smart contract is automatically executed. So for example, I invest $100,000. Every single 3 months, I'm supposed to make 2% interest on that $100,000. The smart contract will automatically execute that 2% interest being paid to the investor based off their initial investment. So if they promise you 2% for $100,000, the smart contract will execute it. This is not only going to be applicable for NFTs, crypto, and everything. It's going to be applicable for anything. So you're not going to need a lawyer to go defend what the original agreement was. But the smart contract is only as good as the person that wrote it. So if you write crappy code, your smart contract may not necessarily represent and do everything that you wanted it to do. So it's like when you're writing the smart contract, you're still going to need somebody to examine it to make sure that it does exactly what you want it to do. So basically the code controls the execution and transactions, and they're basically trackable and irreversible on the blockchain. So for example, if I created this NFT on August 1st, 2017, and I minted it. A minting is basically like when you mint a token. So it's on the blockchain. This thing was created at this time, at this day, by this group of people, and this is how many of them that they actually are. So now, boom, that is all on the blockchain, so I can track, like for even like baseball cards, for example. How do I know if that baseball card is real? How do I know who owned that baseball card? How do I know when that baseball card was printed? How do I know what company printed that baseball card? How do I know how many people actually own that baseball card before it got to me? How do I know this piece of $1 million art, like for example, this Michael Jackson piece of art? How do I know who owned that before me? How do I know what date that it was printed? How do I know that how would somebody else know that I'm even the owner of that piece of art? What I can do is I can basically take that physical item, I can put it onto the blockchain, and I can basically say Cliff Pierre owns this Michael Jackson original Grammy Thriller album as of this date, and that's going to be permanently stored onto the blockchain network forever. Now, if I was to sell that piece of art, then when I sell that piece of art, I can also basically the blockchain would automatically update who owns it following my sale, and then it would track how much I sold it for. And then the smart contract, let's just say if I want to get paid for the lifetime of that Michael Jackson piece of art, I can put something like that in the smart contract and say if anybody else resells it, I get paid a percentage of the total resale value. So like this is where it's not only applicable to NFTs, it's applicable to anything that needs to showcase ownership, that needs to showcase a timeline of ownership, and that needs to showcase value. So art, books, you can use this for cars, for titles and stuff like that. You can literally use a smart contract for anything to track ownership, and then you can use it as far as like a if this then that. So if this person sells the car, transfer the title, the this, the that, the this to the person that they sold the car to, and make sure that it happens automatically at the moment that this happens. That is the power of this. And in some situations, you don't need a lawyer to review the contract. Once the smart contract's written, once it's written, everything's going to execute on its own. But if you wrote a poor contract, you may have some challenges. So that's why you need to make sure you know what you're doing when you're writing that smart contract. You want to make sure that it gets reviewed. So smart contracts permit trusted transactions and agreements to be carried out among disparate anonymous parties without the need for a central authority, legal system, or external enforcement mechanism. So while blockchain technology has become thought of primarily as a foundation for Bitcoin, it has evolved far beyond underpinning virtual currency. Kind of exactly what I said. Like smart contracts are basically going to evolve and continue to evolve. And I'm not going to say they're going to remove the need for lawyers, but they're going to remove the need for having to go to court to make claims on a specific agreement or agreement that wasn't upheld, because the smart contract will just execute on its own. So smart contracts are self-executing lines of code with the terms of an agreement between the buyer and the seller automatically verified and executed via a computer network. Again, it's code. Nick Szabo, an American computer scientist who invented a virtual currency called BitGold, he defined smart contracts as computerized transaction protocols that execute the terms of a contract. So smart contracts deployed to blockchains render transactions traceable, transparent, and irreversible. That is why this is so revolutionary. And smart contracts were first proposed in 1994 by Nick Szabo, an American computer scientist who invented a virtual currency called BitGold in 1998, and full 10 years before the invention of Bitcoin. In fact, Szabo is referred to be the real Satoshi Nakamoto, the anonymous inventor of Bitcoin, which he has denied, right? So Szabo has defined smart contracts as computerized transaction protocols that execute the term of a contract. I basically already stated that. And basically, he wanted to extend the functionality of electronic transaction methods such as a point of sale to the digital realm. In his paper, Szabo also proposed the execution of a contract for synthetic assets such as derivatives and bonds. So Szabo wrote, these new securities are formed by combining securities such as bonds, derivatives, options, and futures in a wide variety of ways. Very complex term structures for payments can now be built into this standardized contracts and traded with low transaction costs due to computerized analysis of these complex term structures, right? So it's basically relying on computers to execute specific terms and processes within an agreement that removes the person, because people lie, people cheat, people steal. Computers are only going to do what you program them to do. So if you program it to lie, cheat, and steal, that's what it will do. But if you program it to at least be honest and irreversible and secure, that is what it will do. I'm not saying they're not hackable, but at the same time, you want to remove the power from people, because people are probably the worst when it comes to business. And the reason people sign contracts in the first place is to basically hold everybody accountable to specific terms and agreements. But imagine being able to hold everybody accountable to a specific term and agreement, and then it executes automatically via the blockchain with a smart contract. That is a smart contract. Those are some of the benefits of smart contracts. And as far as like crypto and everything, you need to understand Bitcoin and blockchain technology before you even get into all this other technical stuff. So I recommend you get a copy of my book, What is Bitcoin and Blockchain? What is Bitcoin, Blockchain, Understanding Bitcoin and Blockchain Technology Made Simple. I put a link in the description below. If you like this video, comment, subscribe, share this video. Again, my name is Cliff Pierre. I'll see you on the next one. Booyah! Peace out.